Hey there, this is Sunny Trucks, and today I'm going to show you how to drive a manual transmission vehicle, also called a standard or a stick shift or a hand shaker. Here we go. In a standard transmission vehicle, you've got 3 pedals in the bottom, as you may have already noticed. In an automatic transmission vehicle, you have 2 pedals, the accelerator and the brake pedal. In a manual transmission vehicle, you also have a clutch on the far left side. Now, it can be confusing sometimes as to which pedals do you use with which foot. And I want you to know that your right foot will continue to use the same pedals that it does in an automatic transmission vehicle. Your right foot will hit the accelerator or the brake. Your left foot will push in the clutch. And we're pushing in the clutch so that we can engage the transmission from the engine. Now, an automatic transmission vehicle, of course, it does it automatically. We are doing this in a Jeep here. On a manual transmission, and in this way we have a little more control over our RPMs. If we're pulling something heavy, or if we're climbing, that sort of thing, we can control our RPMs whenever we've got a manual transmission a lot easier. We can put it in low or the lowest gear. We can let out on the clutch. We can push into the throttle to give ourselves more RPM. So the driver normally has more control in a manual transmission vehicle. Although today, automatic transmission vehicles are so advanced that they can shift faster. Normally, they drive faster, not still, but they drive faster and those sorts of things. But for the OGs, man, who still like to use a standard shift transmission, this Jeep right here can't be beat. This is a 6-speed, and I'm going to show you how to drive it right now. Before you start a vehicle that is a manual transmission, a couple things you want to check. Of course, we want to make sure that our parking brake is engaged. We want to make sure that our transmission is in neutral. And then what we're going to do is we're going to push the clutch all the way down. So I'm pushing my left foot all the way down in this case. I'm going to put my right foot on the brake. Of course, I've got this in neutral, parking brake engaged, and then we're going to start it. All right. Vehicle cranks just fine. Then, in order to take off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the transmission into first. And every transmission is going to be a little bit different. You'll normally have a diagram on top of the shifter knob here that'll show you where your gears are. In this case, all the way to the left and up is first, straight down from there is second, up and over a tad to the right, and all the way up is third, straight down from there is fourth, up and over is fifth, straight down is sixth, then all the way to the right and down is reverse on this transmission. So I have it all the way to the left and up, got it in first gear. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you with my hands here. If this were the throttle and this is the clutch, all right, right now I've got my left foot with the clutch all the way pushed in. I've got my right foot on the brake, just holding us where we are. But in a minute, I'm going to let out on the clutch and I'm going to push down on the accelerator. And I call that feathering, okay? And so that's what we're going to do. That's the key to driving a manual transmission. It's feathering, letting out on the clutch, pushing in on the accelerator at the same time, okay? You're going to do that when you shift. You're going to do that when you take off. And so I'm going to disengage the parking brake. I've got my right foot on the brake itself, so we're not rolling anywhere. I'm going to let out on the clutch a little bit. You can hear the RPMs go down when I do that, and you can see it start to move. I'm going to feather into the accelerator. All right. There you go. Real simple, real straightforward. We're here in a parking lot here, just so I can do this demonstration, and so I won't get up to any high rate of speed. But we'll be able to show, of course, what it looks like to take off in a shift and come to a stop with the manual transmission. All right, I pulled it back into neutral, and now we're stopped. And how I did that was, as we came to a stop, I pushed the clutch in all the way again. So I'm disengaging the power from the engine to the drive shaft. I'm disengaging that power, and so that way the engine can keep running, but the vehicle is not moving. And then I have my right foot on the brake so that we don't go anywhere, so that we don't just keep rolling, and I pull this back into neutral. Okay, before we take off again, left foot pressed all the way in, over and up. We're in gear. Right foot's on the brake. I'm going to release the brake, and I'm going to let out on the clutch and push in on the accelerator. So letting out on the clutch, pushing in on the accelerator at the same time. Now, like anything, just like riding a bicycle, this takes practice, okay? I doubt there's anyone who's ever driven a transmission who hasn't driven a manual transmission who hasn't stalled it out at one time or another. And if you stall it out, this is kind of what it looks like. I've got it in gear. I'm gonna let out. I'm gonna stay on the brake. This has a really low transmission. I mean, really low gear. I'll put it in second. Okay, we stalled out. See? That happens on a manual transmission. And so that's likely going to happen to you whenever you are practicing. Don't let it bother you. Get into a safe area like this, get you in a parking lot, out into a pasture, someplace where you can practice. It's going to happen, but you're going to get used to the feel of it so that it doesn't happen anymore, especially so it doesn't happen whenever it's in a dangerous situation. What I did there is I put it down in second, and I held the brake and let out on the clutch so that I would stall it on purpose so I could show you what that looks like. This Jeep, again, it has such low gears that when I tried doing that in first, it just kept pushing through the brake. But here we go. We're going to start it up again. I've got it in neutral. The clutch is pushed all the way in. Right foot's on the brake. Start it back up. Over to the left and up. I'm in first gear. I'm going to let out on the clutch. Push in on the accelerator at the same time. We're going. Now we're going to shift. So I'm going to push in on the clutch again. Let out on the second accelerator. Put it down into second. And then I'm going to feather back. All right. Turn around and do that again. I've got it back in first gear, and I'm going to show you how to downshift here in just a second. So, letting out on the clutch, pushing in on the accelerator. We get to a point where we want to shift. I'm going to push in the clutch, let out on the accelerator, put it down to second, let out on the clutch, push in on the accelerator. It's that feathering, okay? And once you get used to that, you'll be able to drive any type of manual transmission that's out there. Although all of them are different, all of them are unique. They're all going to they all have their own feel, but you'll be able to do it. So we got it in first gear again. We'll let out on the clutch, push down the accelerator. Push in the clutch, let out on the accelerator, put it in second, and feather back in. Do that again. It's in first gear. You can maybe watch my knees here. I'm going to shift up. So I'm going to push down on the clutch. I let out on the accelerator, and I'm exaggerating here to show you. Put it in second gear. Then I'm going to push in on the accelerator, let out on the clutch. Okay? And that's the process. You keep doing that for every gear. You'll do that when you go to third, when you go to fourth, when you go to fifth. And of course, in this case, this transmission has 6 gears. Now I want to show you what it looks like to downshift. So, very simple on accelerating. You just keep feathering, and whenever you're shifting up and down. Now, I wouldn't recommend driving with no hands when you're on the road, of course. Matter of fact, don't do that. I'm in a parking lot here, no one else driving around me, and I'm trying to do a demonstration, of course, while I'm driving. That's the only reason. I want you to see what I'm doing with my feet. I'm going to show you with my hands here. So, accelerator, clutch, all right? I've got the clutch all the way in when I'm stopped right now, and my right foot's on the brake. Okay, whenever I take off, I'm going to let out on the clutch. I'm going to move my right foot from the brake to the accelerator, and I'm going to do that number there, all right? Out on the clutch, down on the accelerator. Whenever I get to where I'm going to shift, I'm going to push in the clutch, let out the accelerator, shift a second, and then I'm going to feather back, all right? A foot on the accelerator, off the clutch. I'm going to shift again, engage the clutch, or push down the clutch, let off the accelerator, push it up into third, and I'm going to feather back. That's all it is. It's this right here. You don't ever want to be on both at the same time. You don't want to have the clutch pushed down and your throttle pushed down. Of course, that'll just do that. It'll rev it up, obviously. What we're trying to do is just feather in and out, going both ways. So, in first gear, let off the clutch, push down the accelerator. Push in the clutch, let off the accelerator to shift a second. Do the opposite. Let off the clutch, push down the accelerator as the accelerator. Now, I've still got it in second gear. I did push in the clutch just to slow it down as we turn. Let's say we want to downshift now. We're coming to a place where we got to slow down and want to downshift. We'll do the same thing. We push in the clutch. I'll push the brake a little bit to slow us down, and then I'll just go into first gear, and then I'll feather back out again. All right. If you're going at too high of an RPM or too high of a speed, you may not be able to downshift in that situation. And so what you want to do is just kind of slow down. It's good to downshift if you're slowing down. Let's say you're coming up on traffic. You still want to have control of your vehicle. You can't be in 6th gear and go 20 miles an hour, and so you'll downshift and you'll go down to a lower gear where you can still maintain speed. There, I just went from second back down to first again. And the idea is that you just want to find the gear that matches the speed that you're doing. And it's going to be different on every vehicle. You'll get used to the vehicle that you're using. The best way to do it is just to practice over and over again. We're at first gear here. Shift to second. Shift to third. All right. Now I need to slow down. So what I do, hit the clutch, and I'm hitting the brake. All right. My right foot is going to act the same, whether it's in an automatic or a manual transmission. It's your left foot that's going to do something different. In this case, anytime you're going to stop, anytime you're going to change gears, you're going to push in that clutch. That's the main thing to get used to. Once you get used to that, you'll be able to drive any manual transmission that's out there. Now, how to park. Whenever we get to a place where we want to park the vehicle, what you want to do, I've got my clutch all the way engaged or pushed down. I've got my brake pedal pushed down. I've got the transmission in neutral, and then I want to engage the parking brake. Always engage the parking brake, especially with a manual transmission. If we don't do that, and we kill it, and we leave it neutral, the vehicle could just roll right off, okay? So, what I like to do is always engage that parking brake. People differ on this next thing I'm about to tell you. Me personally, I like to put it in gear and then kill it, or kill it and then put it in gear. But me personally, whenever I turn it off, I want the parking brake engaged, and I want the transmission in the lowest gear possible. Just in case for some reason the parking brake isn't holding well, the transmission, when it's in the lowest gear, will have a tendency to help hold it in place. It can still roll like that, but not as easily. So that's the way that I park a manual transmission vehicle. Some people might disagree with that. They would say don't put it in gear at all, and that's fine. As long as you have a good parking brake that works, you're fine with that. So engine's off. We can exit the vehicle now. We've got the parking brake engaged. This is in first gear, and the vehicle's off. We go to start it up again, push the clutch all the way in. I like to put my foot on the brake. If you've got an older vehicle that actually needs the throttle, then you might have to just push on the throttle when you start it. Most vehicles now that are fuel injected, you don't have to do that. So start it up. I've got left foot fully on the clutch, right foot on the brake. It's another good practice to, once you put your right foot on the brake, to put this back in neutral. I didn't do that before I started this time. Some vehicles might make you put it in neutral before you can start it, and newer vehicles might be that way. So now we got the vehicle started. We're not going anywhere. I've got the clutch pedal pushed all the way down. I can let go of the parking brake because I have got my foot on the brake. Pull over, put it into gear, feather out, and there we go. We're off. Shift. Slow down the brake. I'm going to downshift. Okay. Super simple. And I hope that helps. You know, nothing's going to beat practice, okay? You can get the concept down by watching this, but the only way that you actually learn how to do it is to get out there and practice. So go find you a parking lot, go find you an open field, someplace where you can practice doing this. Once you do it a couple times, you'll get the hang of it, you'll understand it. Once you do it several times, you'll get good at it. And then again, you'll just be off on your own. You'll be able to drive any manual transmission that's out there. So hope that helps very much. Y'all have a blessed day. Thank you.